All right, it's Thursday, December 7th. It's about 50 minutes before the open, so we will recap what happened yesterday and kind of see what's unfolding for this morning. Yesterday, you can see a big red 3-bar, took out the high of the previous day, the low of the previous day. We're in this trading range on the daily chart that we've discussed for quite some time. The market wanted to gap up, but immediately had the opportunity. If you look here, between the blue lines was the pre-market range. We were gapping up. You thought you might get some follow through to the upside, but instead the market decided to go down after bar number one. It worked all the way down to the pre-market lows as a first target here, and then once it kind of hit the halfway point yesterday, and had a little pullback and a red bar. Not surprising that this took you down to take out the intraday low and yesterday's low, because we kind of came down all the way to the midpoint of yesterday, which typically, will give you a signal for an outside day. The big red day, you kind of think maybe it'll follow through a little bit lower, but you also know you're in this big range, and every time you can see here when we come down to the bottom of the range, price goes up. These two bars were a compound 3 of this bar, then things sold off inside, then we gap up inside the range, we immediately go down, take out the lows. So even if you do kind of probe lower, there could be buying coming in. There's no actionable signal here on the 3-bar inside this big range. So it's almost a situation where you just want to kind of watch and see what develops and not get too aggressive one way or the other. You can get some internal, trade opportunities. You could see the pre-market range today is moving up a little bit after some jobs report. So let's say we open up it's possible if you open up like a kicker pattern where this closes red, but you start strong above the midpoint of this bar and immediately go up. I guess you could try a buy even though you're in the range. I don't see an aggressive sell. If it holds in here and heads lower, we could see if it wants to test the pre-market lows in yesterday's low. After this little pre-market run up here, maybe it wants to make one move down. But there's no actionable sale. I mean, this is either setting up for a 3, kind of a broadening continuation to break out of this range, which it doesn't seem to want to do at the moment, or it's just going to be more choppiness inside this area until we go one way or the other. Maybe we're setting up for an inside bar here, which would be similar to these inside bars and still make it tricky. So you're getting inside bars. So normally the actionable signal will be an up or a down, but then you're in this big range that when we zoom it out, we've identified here for a long time. So any inside bars on the 3 doesn't mean you're going to break out one way or the other. If anything, I could see, if we go to the weekly chart now, which has 2 more days to go, we're just an inside week, and we're kind of judging this purple line above, as the monthly open, either above or below. So we could be setting up for an inside bar, like a failure down and then a move up. So even a break out of this bar next week, assuming we stay inside, isn't necessarily going to go one way or the other, but you'd try it, but you'd kind of wait. You'd know that if we break to the upside, we could fail, and if we go to the downside, we could fail and come back up. So we're going to watch into next week. I get the feeling to see what kind of, if we get a breakout one way or the other. There's still big picture targets above here if we want to go higher, and if we want to pull back, there's a lot of gaps to fill in down here. So if this ends up with an inside bar, which seems more and more likely as the week goes on, it's going to be tricky to know, or the breakout next week. You really want to monitor for a continuation or failure. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And today I don't see much unfolding actionable signal here. So if you want to kind of see where the first bar, opens up and go with any structure that develops in today, maybe you can try it, but nothing too exciting today after just bouncing around in this choppy range. So let's just see what unfolds. Again, there'll be more clarity in the days and weeks ahead, but for now, It's just a choppy range environment. But at least if you follow the opening price action, the pre-market range, you shouldn't get hurt too bad. But just know, that things have to break out of it. If you're going to go with a buy signal, for example, it really has to get going, to the top of the range for a breakout. If you don't see that unfolding, be pretty nimble about it. Same thing on the downside. So that's kind of the way to view this. Nothing, no actionable signals, and choppy ranges are kind of tricky. So we will see what unfolds today, but yesterday clearly was just to the downside after the gap up.